Okay, it is 7 p.m. on December 15th, 2020. I'm trying to skip one. We're open committee's meeting. Do roll call, please.
Yep. Just a reminder, please speak up loudly. I have committee members Chris Samples.
Here.
John Talbot.
Yes.
William Lussinger.
Here.
Dina Simpson. Here. Jen Christensen. Here. Jared Jones.
Here.
President Rick Werner.
Here.
Treasurer Brenda Onabini.
Here.
I, Sandy Monson here. Attorney David Silverman.
Here.
Public Works Supervisor Brett Fergie.
Here.
And Park Supervisor Nathan Snell.
Here.
Are we still operating under the rules of everything is roll call?
Yes.
And we are going to do roll call for everything.
Yep.
Take a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the November 17th, 2020 committee of the committee meeting.
Second. Who makes a motion to approve the November 17th, 2020 committee meeting minutes? Jared seconds. Any discussion on the minutes? Roll call.
Jen.
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Dina.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes. Motion passes 703. Reports to the officers. Anybody have any questions on the fuel or water reports in the packet? We'll move on. Sandy?
The FOIA report is in the packet. As you'll see, we've been a little busier than normal with FOIAs. Any questions on what's in there? All right. Also in the packet is the draft annual fee ordinance. The changes incorporating the fees for temporary certificates of occupancy are in there. I'd like to pass that next week at the same time that we are passing the ordinance allowing temporary certificates of occupancy. Were there any questions on that?
In that fee ordinance, I know we're not changing it, but we do have a water rate, sewer rate increase getting reversed.
We do.
Right.
Yep, in the annual fee ordinance, the way that it was written when we did the water and sewer rate increases last time is that there's an asterisk in there that says that it does go up on the January 1st of each year. So
By a quarter for each.
it's a quarter for water and sewer in a residential and commercial capacity. Industrial goes up by 50 cents.
I'm sorry, I was only 4 years.
Yeah.
That was just for my own knowledge.
Any other questions on it?
What's the rate now?
It's $3.75 right now.
No, I'm sorry, I meant it as of January 1st, just so nobody
For
is
residential and
surprised.
commercial, it would be $4.
For $4 per 1,000 gallons
1,000
for
gallons
water
for
or
1,000
sewer.
gallons for sewer.
Right.
So it would be a total of $8 instead of $7.50.
Right. What's for the commercial or industrial?
50 cents?
50 cents more, so it's
Yes. I don't know.
425 or
We
450?
don't have any industrial users
Oh,
right now,
then
so.
forget it.
Yep. Any other questions? All right. Next thing on the agenda is a discussion of window inspections. We have started doing window inspections in accordance with our with the building code, and we've come into a slight hiccup, which is when people are putting in or replacing windows, the work is usually done all at once. And so the inspector has been requiring a rough one and then a final, but nobody's putting in a rough window and then coming back and finishing it. So I emailed him and I said, what are you guys doing in other towns? And he said in other towns, they sometimes don't do the rough inspection on window replacements, or in some towns have chosen not to do inspections at all, which they don't necessarily recommend. So I wanted to discuss with you guys if you would be okay if the building inspector went to just a final inspection on window replacements.
For residential homes?
I was going to ask,
Why
that's
are
a
we
good question, that's what I was going to ask,
I don't
why?
expect them to be
Because they actually need to be in compliance with the building code.
Like, how
We
would a
should've
window
been-
not be? Like,
Right.
So-
I'm
What's
just
the
curious.
safety issue is what it's for me.
I don't think you can even sell a window that is not double
That's what I
pane.
said,
I
how
don't
would
know,
it not
is
be?
it that or is it the installation?
It's both. So they actually check the window braids and those things, and then they also check the installation as well.
I'm in favor of not inspecting.
Yeah.
So just keeping that in mind, there is the window inspection fee total. If we just went to a final, it's like $65.
So like,
I review this as like the roofing issue. When these companies come in, they tear them out, they put them up, and they move on.
Yeah.
We chose not to inspect roofs for that same reason. that we cannot guarantee, we don't want to hold up residents from repairing their home.
We do inspect
The
roofs.
roofs have to be inspected to the International Roofing Code.
That we do inspect.
I remember we chose not to.
That's
Now,
why the
we
original
still
house.
have to hold the state licenses, which we don't anymore, our building inspector handles all that for us, but we do inspect roofing replacement, same scenario, it's usually only a final, or to make sure, somebody ran into this recently, there's like an ice and water shield that has to be
Yeah.
installed during
I remember
roofing.
that.
So are we saying that somebody actually comes to our house and
Yeah, they
inspects it
have
from the
built
village?
There's too many people talking.
Building
Can you
inspector
say that one more
inspection.
time?
Yeah, so are we saying that like, so when we had the terrible winds and whatever, and everybody had their roofs redone, somebody from the village came and inspected our house?
The building inspector since March has come in and done building inspections. on
Oh, since
everything.
March,
Prior
okay.
to that.
All right,
we
I'm
did
like,
not,
wait a
correct.
minute, okay.
Prior to that,
I
we
was
did
like,
not.
I prefer to go back to that.
All right, and then I guess my question is, we've had 4 people do windows inspections this year, myself included. And so if we're going to no inspections, do those 4 people get refunds on their inspections?
Did they actually get inspected?
Yes,
No.
Was it,
it still is.
so then,
Okay,
Nothing
so
has changed.
let's just take a step back. Do we want to get rid of the inspections on roofs and windows?
my question is, before we answer that
Okay.
question, what is the benefit of doing it?
Well, the windows, if I remember right, the Windsor windows that originally came with my house, had we had an energy code for the inspection, I don't know that that window would have been chosen, because there's different degrees of windows depending on what climate you're in as far as what they're supposed to be specified to. And I
Yeah, but so
remember,
like, are you saying that you're gonna have to talk to an inspector before you go buy a window?
no, the people installing it would know.
That they should
What
know that
happens when-
anyway.
What happens when you go to Home Depot?
Right.
Well,
They're
they
not
show
gonna
the
sell
copy.
one, it's not. I don't know.
They absolutely do.
I think on new construction.
You know,
wouldn't pull it
I think
off.
that's on you.
Because there's different
As,
ones.
as,
Homeowner.
to me, the inspections are more about safety than
like
anything
State of
else.
Illinois requires low E glass on your windows now. You can buy a window at Home Depot all day long, it doesn't have low E on
So
it.
it's,
It's, all right, it's reflect part of the heat out of the.
Alright.
Okay.
Because I also think that like, and maybe I'm wrong, but like,
I've never.
I would think, like, I kind of agree with the safety piece of it, but I also think that like, if you can go to a home place and maybe you are to purchase certain kinds of things, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not gonna be a home that's quality enough to sell that would meet, like, I don't know, I just think that's,
And the thing
inspecting
with-
your windows is
The
a bit
other
much.
odd thing is the roof inspection, like she said, there is an ice and water shield that's required now. They're also only allow 1 layer of roof now. So we keep people from stacking roofs and,
We allow just one.
IBC.
I
which
like
we
it
adopted.
too.
We
Like,
adopted.
whatever the building code is what the building inspector does, I'm not proficient in building
And
code.
most of the time when you get your roof done, your insurance company has to have it inspected before they even cut the check anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, so, and they have all their regulations that they have to
Then
do,
makes
so
the
like, I don't
assumption
think,
that the insurance company is paying for it. In our scenario, we replace it on our own, and so then I'd end up having to pay for it, and I wouldn't know any better. Or you like to talk?
Go ahead.
I've got, okay, so the roofs, if I can throw my 2 cents in here, kind of as a homeowner here. The roof, I'm okay with. If we want to do inspections on roofs, that's one thing. But windows on I've got a 100-year-old house. I have a basement window that I need to replace. They don't make a window to fit it from a 100-year-old foundation. I have to either have one custom made, which is going to cost me a fortune, or I have to build a custom frame by the closest window that will fit in there, and then have a building inspector potentially come out and say, well, that's not right. Well, then how am I supposed to do it without spending a fortune on a custom window for an 18 by 24-inch window that's just going in my basement? I don't agree with the
To
windows.
counter with that though, our building inspector has been fantastic about if you tell them that these are your scenarios, they're willing to tell you what you need to do and what options work to be in compliance with our building.
I have one
for all-
option.
For all scenarios.
I have one option, that's it. So,
Here's my thought. I don't think we need to tell people or have inspection for people doing replacement windows. That's my thought. You know, if you want to, okay, fine. I'm not gonna argue it, but I don't see the need for it. That's me.
You can still buy them at the store, but you're gonna put something in your house that's not compliant.
We still want to keep it on the new construction side of things, I would say.
Well, absolutely, I think under construction.
Fine, what's the difference?
Because,
Definitely devil's advocate, sorry.
There's no homeowner.
right, there's nobody to speak for themselves.
Right.
Because
speak
moving
for
forward, you should build to your own.
When you have a
code.
home and you own your home, you speak for yourself.
Yeah.
But like when you don't, when nobody's there to make sure everything is done properly, that's an inspector's.
I can tell you the windows that.
What's gonna happen is if they put in a window, that doesn't meet code, sell their house, and a building inspector comes out, finds it.
And then you have,
Replace it.
you gotta do what you gotta do to fix
Right.
it, and at that point, you wanna sell it.
I'd live on new construction.
David, here's my
Yes,
for you. So if we are choosing to not enforce a section of the building code, do we need to do another amendment to our code and notify the state and everything else in the whole process?
yes.
Okay, then I will work with you, Dean, or Mark on finding out what we need to do to move forward with that.
I mean, Sandy,
Permanent, no charge.
Sandy,
David, I'm listening to you.
There you go.
okay. So you do have discretion with how you enforce your codes. So I'll revise a little bit of what I said. You don't have to do that, but if there's a provision of the code that you're just not going to use because it's not a policy the village wants to undertake, then you should keep your codes clean and relevant. But you don't have to always enforce every letter of your code. That's the preferred approach because you have the regulations in place. But you do have some discretion in how you administer them and enforce them.
So if we choose not to update our code to remove the section that requires inspection of window installation, then there is the possibility that in 7 months, when I've got new people sitting in front of me, that they could then say, well, hold on, we wanted that to be enforced because no changes were made to the code to say that
Yes,
was the intention of the village.
that's right.
We can, we can make a
It's always
motion to pass a
possible.
moratorium on a certain section.
David.
You could. Sure.
I would be more comfortable with that. I
I-
need something in writing.
I would like, if the village is going to do something like that, I mean, I would just like the village to paper its decision somehow through some type of legislative enactment so everyone understands how we got to where we are and why we're doing it.
I'm good with moratorium. Puts it on record and then it's,
I
and
just,
it reverts back after a certain time.
I'm fine with that. I agree with David. I need a paper trail that says this is
I
why
think
we're
we
doing
need to
it.
have that paper trail because we have too many things right now, we don't know how they came to be in the past.
That is true.
So are you guys okay trying to figure out what an informal waiver of that section would be? And then I'll put some language together with Dan and David's blessing, or Mark, Dan and David's blessing, that it'd just be simple, maybe just a moratorium language. Because you're the one who suggested
You brought
it.
Because I don't even know what it is.
A moratorium?
I know what the word means.
Yeah,
I'm
it just means
not
that we
sure
would
what
put
it's
a
talking
pause
about.
on enforcement of that
You're
section.
not enforcing it.
Then let's do that.
Okay, then I'll work to make sure that I have the right, with the building inspector, to make sure I have the right section that
Typically,
we're
it's,
choosing.
you do that while you're trying to address issues with.
So it's only with new construction stage.
Well, you know, if a future board wants to change anything in the code, they can do it anytime they want.
They can, but it's easier on those in the back if we can follow a paper trail as to why things are the way they are.
I understand. So the moratorium is fine. with me.
All right.
Yes.
I will work with the building inspector and then get a blessing on my language from the council and then bring it back to you. William, since you suggested, do you care if I stick it under you?
That's fine.
Okay, thank you. Next thing on the agenda is the disposal of the blowers from the wastewater treatment plant. You guys had already given me permission months ago to dispose of them. In talking to Fergie at that time, we had somebody potentially interested in purchasing them. That person is no longer interested in purchasing them, and now they're just still sitting. So, at this time, I guess I'm requesting to see if anybody had any objections if we just turn it into scrap metal.
As long as when we build a new pond, we don't need something that makes bubbles.
Fergie?
I'm assuming with the new, whatever Nate's working on, we're not gonna put that old blower in. I mean, it's been sitting for 10, 11 years. I would think there would probably be better technology out there than those blowers. I would
I think there'd be
think
something more energy
a
efficient.
little more energy efficient.
11 years
quieter.
How are we ever near using it?
They're the old blowers from the old lagoon.
So when they took
The old
line, they used to bubble.
Yeah, why would we even need it?
We know,
Rick was talking about like if we do the pond project, there was talk years ago about using one or two of those blowers to aerate the pond.
Something that's been sitting for 10 years.
But these have been sitting for many years.
Right. We wouldn't need to when we do the pond correctly. It'll be built correctly, deep enough, wide enough that they aerate stuff.
Yeah, and like Sandy said, we had already, all of you had already said, go ahead and get rid of them. At that time, someone popped up and said, hey, I kind of want to buy them maybe, but that,
Yeah.
so.
and,
We're good with scrap?
or
We
as
are
well,
good. Yes.
as
Okay.
well, by the way, just so you guys know, as a reminder, even though you guys give me permission to dispose of these things, I always come to you guys first to let you know what the status of the disposal is or what we're able to do with them before I dispose of them. So since you guys are all okay with scrap, we'll go ahead and just scrap them. The next two, I'm actually only talking about the one. So the resolution just destroying the closed session tapes, that's the resolution that we pass every 6 months, destroying the tapes that are more than 18 months old and the minutes have already been approved. Are there any questions or objections on that? Can I stick it on the consent agenda? Okay. All right, that's just the tapes. The minutes we'll discuss after closed session. And that's all I have.
All right, move on to Brenda.
Well, I still been working on the cure receipts. I received another check today and I will get another check later this week. Pretty soon the year's ending, so I'll be busy at the end of the year, getting ready for W-4s. And that's about it right now.
Thanks.
Move on to committees.
No, you missed one at the bottom.
Very loud.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. All right, David.
No report.
Go ahead, Jen.
I'm just gonna report on the blood drive, free blood drive that we had last Thursday from 3 to 7. They had 33 participants. They got 26 units of blood that saved 78 lives.
That's nice. Awesome.
They were very busy when I went in to check at 6:30 to make sure they didn't need anything else and whatever, and was cleaning up afterwards. They said it was a very busy 4 hours. I was glad to hear it.
Okay, William.
I actually have 2 items. The first one that's on the agenda, I received a phone call a couple weeks ago. Rochelle did a program trying to stir up support for local businesses. They did spend so much money at a designated small business in their corporate boundary. And I don't remember the dollar amount, it might have been $300 or $500, whatever. But you brought in, you spent so much money at local businesses, you kept your receipts. Once you hit that threshold, you can come to Village Hall. They gave you a credit of, I think they were doing $50 on your water bill or something, in exchange for supporting small businesses. I thought it was a good idea. We don't have quite the market that they've got, obviously, but I wanted to bring it back to the village and throw the option out there. Second one, I received another phone call from one of our business owners asking for support. And he directed me to, again, this was Rochelle. They did this back in June or July under the first shutdown. They in turn offered up grants to small businesses to the tune of whatever dollar amount to get them through the initial shutdown, which was summertime. And he asked me if we could do something similar because he was struggling and he's not sure what's going to happen. But I said, we do have our small business grant for new business, but I didn't know if we could somehow revamp that into helping out our existing businesses, whether it's expand something or whatever.
considering we're not probably gonna see any new businesses open up in the next 6 to 12 months, I think we can repurpose that money.
I would agree. How would we want to do it? is the
Speaking a little
question.
louder, please.
I'm sorry. What I said was that since I don't believe that there will be any new businesses opening up in town within the next 6 to 12 months, that maybe we could repurpose the $25,000 grant for new business is to something to help the businesses we already have. I don't know, how would you decide? That would be the issue, is how to decide.
So my understanding, and I emailed Rick and Sandy the press release from Rochelle, it was back in June or July, and my understanding, they just gave out money.
It's $5,000. The grant's intended to be a last resort funding, and it's or rent, mortgage, insurance, inventory, payroll, personal protection equipment, or utilities. And then you just have to submit eligible expenses within a receipt within 30 days of securing the grant funds. And then the business must remain open for a minimum of 6 months after receiving the grant funds. If not, the funds will be required to be paid back to the city. And then other documentation may be required.
So how many do we have? I mean, clearly Dollar General.
I would not consider Dollar General.
Right. Neither would I.
I mean,
I believe there was language in there that said that it had to be,
had to be a brick and mortar, had to be,
it had to be impacted by the enclosure requirement by the state
So mostly the restaurants.
we're looking at our restaurant.
and our fitness center.
I would
throw them in
assume,
there
I
too.
would think that they've got it moving.
But they,
How was
Maybe not.
was the daycare affected by the orders?
There has been a transition in ownership there, and I've not had an opportunity to speak to the new owner, nor have I heard of any issues going on there.
They had, any requirements for all people being that close together?
I believe they did have to close down for a short period of time because of.
Yeah, but I don't know which
Right.
ownership that fell
Right.
under either, because they did transition ownership.
I mean, I believe
It's all
that
in
we
the
can
family.
ask for the money, right?
Still in the same thing.
Yes.
I mean,
And we
would just
would have to we'd have to basically come up with the terms first of what we're going
Right.
to do, then we have to advertise it, and then they have to come in.
Right.
Contact.
Well, I mean, if somebody's doing well, then there would be.
Would we require them to show that they were not struggling prior to COVID? I mean, what if they were struggling?
Brenda would like to say something, Jim.
Oh, all right,
She's
go ahead.
waving her hand.
I would kind of be interested to know, the state of Illinois and the federal government has had, grants out there for small businesses. I'd be interested to know if they applied for any of those. There was one that just, expired yesterday, but it looks like they're gonna have another round. So I'd be interested to know if they are looking at those other options too.
It does say in Rochelle's paperwork for this that it'd be used as a last resort, and that those federal and state grants be applied for first, essentially.
Are you speaking of the payroll protection? The Payroll protection?
This one here is a business, it's called Big Business Interruption Grants that the state of Illinois would send directly to the business. The business would have to apply for it.
Right.
And
No,
then-
I've seen that. I know businesses that have. Well, I was payroll protection.
I'd be interested if
I don't remember what it was.
It's not that, it's separate. These
So
are
there's
grants
more
that-
than one.
Yes, yeah, so the payroll protection was the first one that came out. This one that just came out, I spoke with one of our local business owners who had applied for it. And it can pretty much be used for anything, for rent, for electricity, for,
Well, I'm pretty sure that if we offered somebody $5,000, that wouldn't be enough to float them through anyway. So they would have to have something else, whether it's through the federal government, the state, or, cutting back costs on their own. I would still be interested in exploring that option, using that $25,000 that we set aside for new businesses for this purpose, since we know we're probably not gonna have any new businesses opening up.
I would concur.
But that's also up to you guys, I mean, what do you guys think?
I think like that 25 is only there until May, we budget season, we play more.
I assume, well, and still, but I mean, I assume, we haven't had any like,
No, we're probably
asked
not.
for grants for so far, right, for the 25?
I did have one current business owner ask, actually he asked for, I forgot what he wanted to do. He wanted to expand something, but at the time, we were only using that for new business.
And I'm sure he's probably heard that now.
I don't remember what it was for. I don't know.
So just be clear, too, you guys are talking about non-essential businesses.
Yeah. Yeah, and so there's some requirements in what Rochelle's got. It says they must generate sales tax and property tax, be to meet the definition of a non-essential small business, be brick and mortar, not have more than 15 employees. Like, there are some requirements that are out there.
Right, yeah, I'm saying, I don't think we need to give money to Swedish American or Stillman Bank or Dollar General. I'm talking about, the restaurants. in
I can think
town.
of 4.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's what I said, 4 or 5 maybe. That I would be willing to, assuming they met the requirements, whatever we set for them.
You want just a flat amount or do a tiered, make them prove a hardship.
Well, I kind of agree with what Brenda's thinking. If they're truthfully having a hardship, you would think you would take every avenue and every opportunity that was available to you. And that would kind of define if the state didn't approve them, then chances are our guidelines probably shouldn't approve them.
I would say,
But if we're last resort, like that was worded, then we would be, but they would have already, so like I look at it as,
They already
they
put in
filled
that.
out the state stuff,
Yeah, just
and they
like that.
maybe got it, maybe didn't, but they still are not making it, or
There's a-
even if they did, maybe they got denied.
There's gonna be other businesses out there, we were considered essential, but we opened after the PPP guidelines, or after those guidelines started, so we were ineligible for any government help. Even though we're considered essential, but I'm sure there's other people out there that may have had that same issue.
I would say that if we do something, they must provide proof that they've
Proof
applied
something.
for,
Right.
whether they received them or not.
Just as what they made
But they
it.
tried,
That they made the, because there's a delay in them receiving.
Do you, for the requirements, do you want it to be applied and then either received or denied and show that letter? Or just applied? And I say that because in speaking with one of our local businesses, they may have received the funds, but because of the crossover of the grant, they may lose those funds, but the funds are just sitting there and then waiting for confirmation
I'd
of
rather
that. So
see
I'm
it.
not sure that all the bills are being paid right away, and so then they come to us and
I'd rather just see the grant or rejection part of it, because that means they went through the process. If you show me an application,
But I mean, they mailed
it
it.
doesn't mean you
Yeah.
know.
just the confirmation or denial of the grant.
Is that what the board wants them to do?
The truth of the matter is anybody who owns a restaurant or, I mean, there's no way you can't tell me they've not been affected by COVID. I mean, when you can't go into a restaurant and sit down and eat, your clientele is going to be lowered or limited or however you want to put it. So there's clearly going to be some, distress.
Do you want them to put forth a dollar figure of what they're asking for?
I was just-
With-
I
with a
think the
description of
flat
what it
five
is?
just-
I think that's.
I think the flat five is a safe, because if we're talking, we have 25,000.
Right.
So I just think that 5 is a safe, because then we could potentially have somebody come in and ask for like, $20,000, and then nothing's left for anybody else to get, like, it might just be that.
Or you could say up to 5, but
Yeah,
I
maybe
see,
they-
I
That's what I'm
don't
saying.
think $2,000 is gonna help anybody survive.
Not if they've been
5,
closed since
like-
March. no.
5 might do something.
Right, that might help you. I don't know how you prove that you were in financial distress, really. It's hard to do.
And for us to take the time to
Who's
go
gonna,
through all their books and figure it out, I mean, you're better off.
and we've always talked about the checking balance on that too,
Right.
so yeah.
I personally try to patronize the local businesses because I don't want to see them go out of business. I want to have that option to go to, get a hamburger in town or pick up a pizza or whatever I want.
I'm more leaning towards the flat 5.
How do you feel about flat 5?
I would go with that too.
I think I'd go with it.
Are you
Right.
doodling something or am I doodling?
I would please rather not.
Okay, well, how about, I'm gonna start first by reaching out to Rochelle and finding out exactly what forms they're using and see if I can just get those, and then we'll just start from there.
That worked well for the last report.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
I,
oh, go ahead, David's got some.
So if you're going to do something for the local businesses, that's a terrific idea. But just be aware that you are going to have to do a prior appropriation for whatever economic development program you want to do. So you are going to have to, and I missed some of the conversation, so if this was already brought up, I apologize. But you are going to have to allocate a certain amount of money to a line item in your budget for economic development, business stabilization, whatever you want to call it. And then obviously you'll cap the grant awards for whatever they are.
He's at this mic here.
Oh. We were talking about, we already have a line item in our budget for business development.
Okay. I missed that, so I apologize.
Yeah, usually it's meant for new businesses. They're just gonna change its use for current businesses too.
Just add different language so it can serve
Well,
other
the
purposes.
line item, I believe Brenda can confirm this, but I think the line item is generic enough.
Oh, no, I meant the actual, like,
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah.
so, okay.
yeah. Let me see.
I know you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, let's start with Rochelle. and see
Okay.
what we can do.
If we're gonna do that, I'd say we hold off on the other. That's not what I already.
I'll probably, by reaching out to Rochelle, just ask him for that too.
Huh?
By reaching out to Rochelle, I'll probably just ask him for the information on that too.
That's all I got.
All right. Jared, ordinance enforcement? John?
As years ago, we bought the, and Nate can touch up on some of this too. We bought that ice rink and then we just stopped using it because of a variety of issues, the manpower to maintain it, the weather conditions weren't always ideal to use it. The liner kept ripping and it would be having to buy the liner. So Nate had brought up the idea, maybe we just do away with it altogether and just dispose of it. Maybe we could donate it to somebody else that wanted to deal with it, but it really was in a lot of different ways it was great, in a lot of different ways it was a pain. Because, I mean, Kenny was always the one maintaining it, so he was close, he lived in the subdivision, he could open it and close it and monitor it, and now with the way things are, it was just costly. We did get 1 or 2 seasons use out of it, so I guess the consensus is, can we just get rid of it?
So, quick question, so, and I know Kenny was here and in the subdivision and he did that. Is there any possibility that like, one of our part-time or like,
Here's the dilemma.
There's broader issues with that.
Yeah,
There's a lot of-
it is more than just a Kenny scenario. It is also a scenario, we have no seasonal employees in the Parks Department this year because of the way that the season ran this year. There just isn't a need. So we'd literally be hiring somebody to come in and take care of that ice rink on a as needed weather
We
dependent
bought it
basis.
thinking, and it got used.
It did.
What we learned was, we only put it on one diamond, which was diamond 2. Then they wanted it locked. And then for my boys who do skate, will never use it because it was ag line and the wind would blow the rocks into the ice and it would destroy their skates. So we would never use it. And then we had people would throw items into the pond or into the ice rink and then they'd freeze and then it would actually shut down the rink for weeks until it thaw and they.
A lot of maintenance work.
Yeah, and the reason it wasn't open the last,
Break in there, it froze.
yeah,
We had to redo it.
and the reason it wasn't open the last year is because the year before, I think we had 4 or 5 days of use out of it for the entire winter. It's so weather dependent.
I knew about that. I
Yeah,
did
I think
know
there was like
about
a leak
that,
in it.
so I'm glad I
and
know.
Oh, and there was a lot of maintenance to keep it up. The liner rips.
If it's ripped, then just throw it out. And it's valuable.
Consensus, Nate, just dispose of it then? Is that what your thoughts were?
Yeah, you've covered the points I was going to make about the maintenance and upkeep and those types of things. So,
But you have the dump truck one day.
Well, hold on. So is everybody okay if I stick on the consent agenda, the disposal of the ice rink next week?
I don't think there's any value, we have to.
Yes, it has value. Every
Yeah.
value. It's worth $1
So
valuable.
Then sell it for $1, I'll buy it for $1.
I will create a disposal ordinance and then dispose as I see fit with your guys' verbal blessing. So anyways, anybody object to a
No.
disposal ordinance next week?
No, but no.
I've never even seen it, so I have no idea.
Yeah. Are you gonna be okay if we
Sure.
dispose of it though?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Then you have some on the dump truck, Nate?
Yeah, in your packet, I finally got all my quotes together to purchase one. I currently have budgeted for this year and have discussed with the board purchasing a small, but an F-350 Ford dump truck. So I was just wanting to have a discussion if need be. My suggestion is Prescott, once again, was the least expensive for the chassis. And then I know Bonnell is the more expensive for the dump body and plow upfitting. However, the dump bodies that they sell are extremely, I like them. They're very good quality. Some of the other dump bodies aren't as nice. So, and both of those, the truck and the upfitting, would fall within the budget. It's actually under 60,000, and I have 65,000 budgeted. So, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But I was just looking for putting that on the agenda next week to approve or to move forward with purchasing it.
Not just a little bit more expensive. It's 6 or 7 grand more expensive than either of the other two quotes.
Sure. And both of them are, the only thing with Monroe is that the plow is not a Western plow. That's a Boss type plow. So we could get the plow is the same. It's like $9,000 wherever we go. The difference in cost is for the dump body itself. And Monroe sells their own dump bodies, which are fine. They're not bad. They're the least expensive. Then Koenig sells a rugby body, which is fine. So I was just going off of previous experience with this, the Napheed body that Bonnell sells, and it's I feel like a better quality product. So that's why I would like to purchase that instead of the other ones. But if the board is concerned about cost for that, I could look at getting the rugby or the other one from Monroe or Koenig.
If there's a certain body you want, is Bonnell the only people that sell that?
They are the closest and best that they're the ones that we've worked with, and they are the closest. Yeah. So I would have to go somewhere else. They are kind of the distributor for that body. And then the other thing is that I know Bonnell's been a little behind with building of our big dump truck. However, we wouldn't have the same issue with the smaller one because they do that out of a separate shop. So the turnaround won't be as bad as us waiting for the larger dump. It's a different building or different setup. So.
Can you speak louder? The microphone you guys have to reach is all the way up here.
I don't care where we get the dump body from per se.
Okay.
To me, if you buy the brands, anybody will service it if it's part of the dealership. Sure. Why not? You take your car to a Ford dealership anywhere, no matter where you bought it from. What would be the difference?
I was gonna say that all these are Ford dealerships.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you want a certain body type, I would prefer not to pay $7,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 more just to buy it from somebody who's local.
Well, the thing is, the Ford dealer's not gonna service that by body.
That's not my point. My point is if you're buying.
So.
Go ahead, Nate.
Oh, nothing. I'm sorry. I just.
You know what? It doesn't matter. We'll just move along.
What do you need the dump body for?
Well, currently, when we have to haul mulch and other materials around, we either have to use the large, the big dump truck, or our small carts. So transporting materials, picking up materials, pallets, sod, other types of things. Having a truck, also the ability to tow material and trailers and that sort of thing, because in the summer, Fergie's older dump truck is dedicated to a water truck. We're cycling in his newer dump truck to start plowing. This would then be kind of a a replacement for that eventually, and a pickup plow for that. So it would serve, multiple. The other issue I have is that I will normally have younger kids who work for me, and not all of them have a Class C or B license to drive and operate an F-550 or the big truck. So I need something that's smaller, more manageable for staff who don't have that extra license, and moving materials, basically.
In my experience, if you want to put a plow on it, you probably want to get a Super Duty 350 because the body, the front end's a little bit better than a regular 350.
Yeah, these are XL Super Duties, but I will double check and make sure that they're spec'd for that, and that they will handle the weight without, because there's an additional kit that I priced in the price of the truck to accommodate the plow. So I could look into that.
Sorry, Jared, what were you saying?
You can have problems with like just a regular pickup truck and put a plow on it, so that it can twist the chassis. But it's brand new for a while, it'll work. But
That should be a 350 Super Duty.
okay.
Yeah, it is. It's an XL. Yeah, it's in the.
Should be anyway.
My question is why?
Yeah.
Well, okay, either Nate can answer that or I can for you. Sure.
You got no plow trucks.
Well, my concern is the next thing that's gonna happen here this year, next year, we're gonna want a salt dump in it. I'm trying to refrain from all the plow trucks and the ability to salt, because that just deteriorates the life. And we just bought a plow truck. The new one, your new truck is gonna have a plow, right?
No, the truck we're buying for
The
him,
dump truck, yeah. And then we bought a slide-in for one, I thought, recently.
No.
Well, what slide voted no for one last month?
We didn't vote on that. That was
We
just a
didn't buy
discussion.
anything to go.
That was just a discussion.
but the truck that we're purchasing for you is not going to be a plow truck.
No, it's a half ton.
Yeah, so that won't be.
Nate, do you mind if I take this or do you want to?
Go ahead. Add whatever.
So the discussion that Nate and I had regarding this, Billy, what you were asking about a plow, is what we've kind of done in the past is the old 250 that Parks did the plowing on the original side of town, even after we bought our 550. So we kept our 550 out of the salt, out of the crap for several years. The old 250 is no longer able to do that. That truck will be leaving. So our 550 now, which is going on 4 years old, maybe, something like that, is now being put into service as a plow truck. It will now plow the original side of town. Nate and I discussed buying a plow for that. So we technically will be losing a plow. So we always had the new 550 as a backup while the old 250 was plowing. That truck's gone. So now every truck that we have that has a plow has a dedicated route. We have nothing sitting in the wings. So
Don't we gain a plow truck by your 2015?
that truck's been plowing since the day we bought it.
Okay.
I do my route, there's the original side of town route, and the two big trucks have their route. So you take the 250 out of that mix, every plow truck now has its own route. So if Nate were to buy a plow with this truck, it may not get used very much. It would become a backup plow truck if one fails. And then eventually it will take over a route. As like a 550 ages, the 550s
Are
already,
we concerned
4 or 5 years
about the
old.
truck failing or the plow failing?
Either one.
So why not just buy a mount for the truck?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you can get a package deal or however you do it, I don't know what will fail. I don't know if it'll be a plow. I don't know if it'll be a truck. I don't technically know. So,
Because we can easily, if a truck goes down, unless it's one of the dump trucks, the big, like that.
yeah, no.
If the 550 goes down
Yes.
or the 350 goes down, that one. of the
That's
plows
great
can
if the
go.
truck breaks down.
Well, what's your objection to spending the $9,000 for the plow that you
Yeah,
want
well,
to
he's saying just get the mount, you can transfer the plow. the truck.
buy the cheaper box and you save $7,000?
I don't have an issue with the box. I'm not a big fan of the plow because I've been on this board long enough. I know we're gonna want salt next.
We're not salting with the new 550 because it didn't sound like anybody wanted to do it. There's no intentions of putting salt in that truck. We didn't put salt in the new 550, well, we haven't done it yet. We've had it since What did we buy that, 17?
17.
I think it was 17, okay.
I'd say put the mound on it, not buy a plow.
Like,
For right
okay,
now.
and that's,
For right
that's,
now.
I have no issue,
Wow.
like I said, this is Nate's truck, I'm not trying to argue for Nate here, but that's great if the truck breaks down. If the plow breaks down, you got a broken down
Well,
plow.
I'm just simply asking him, I'm not giving that direction yet,
Yeah,
because you don't know if that plow will fit on that mount.
Well, it depends too, because each truck, when they set them up, has to be angled a certain way in order to work on that truck, so.
If you guys got it budgeted and you guys worked it out, I trust your judgment, that's why we pay you, I just asked a question.
Sure. Appreciate it.
I believe you. I trust you.
We also had a discussion on whether you get a plow or not, so.
So, if you don't have any more questions, I had one more thing just a comment or something to let you guys know. I've been working on the intergovernmental agreement with the school district for the use of the athletic fields and baseball diamonds. Unfortunately, those negotiations have ended, but I guess a good thing is that the school district is willing to pay to rent the fields for their usage this season. So I'm in the process of starting to gather requests for diamond usage for next year, and I'm gonna see if I can find everybody some space. And starting January 1st or starting first of the year, I'll be working on that. But I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that I tried to negotiate, but didn't work. So they just agreed to reimburse us for the use of the field. So
What was their reasoning?
Well, I'll elaborate on it if you don't mind, is that tomorrow I actually have a meeting with DJ because we dealt with IGA in the past, and he wants to discuss. So I don't know where you guys stand. Sounds like a plan.
Did he say why?
I don't remember.
Why hidden impasse?
Yeah,
No.
I don't think we ever even,
yeah.
it was just a blanket document with an agreement for them to use our field.
So basically, we wanted, I just lost the term. Money.
No,
well, we were looking for equal maintenance levels. They were asking us to use the diamond and then to prep it for games and to maintain it. That was not included in their agreement of our use. So if we wanted to use a diamond for a game, they wouldn't include chalking and striping and that sort of thing. So, and then Rick and I had discussed, well, can we use their baseball field at the high school for baseball games over the summer? So we included those items to kind of make it more, more on par with each other, I guess. And I think that might have been it. I don't know.
Right, that's, again, I remember the discussions that we wanted everything to be equitable either way. Whatever we do, we want them to do. If they're not doing it, we're not doing it.
Well, okay, but the whole reason they play here is because they don't maintain their fields. And they don't make their chalk, they don't drag them regularly, they let the infields grow. So they're not gonna go out there and do that for us when we wanna use their field. That's the whole reason they come here.
I mentioned,
We had this discussion for quite a while one night, and that's what we came up with, was we were asking them to be on par, equitable with what we do.
I mentioned to Nate that they have an employee now that we know can do this.
I mean,
And I don't think we want their baseball field, we have no reason for baseball.
No, at the high school. But I mean, we talked about how long it takes us to put in the mound.
So for times when we have like Meridian Youth, the 8th grade Sandy Koufax teams are playing, and then we have a softball tournament or whatever that comes in. I was thinking, yeah, it'd be nice to be able to have a nice baseball diamond to use, so that way we didn't have to switch the mound so frequently. I know that it's not a lot, but it does take a day and a half between baseball use in the and then switching for like a tournament on the weekend or that sort of thing, and then switching it back. And so they would like to use Diamond 2 for baseball game. The school district wanted to use Diamond 2 for baseball games. So then that would add additional time and expense on us if we had other events or softball games there to remove and replace the pitcher mound several times throughout the summer. And so I figured, oh, well, if we had another baseball diamond to use while we're having softball tournaments and those types of things, maybe that was part of the reasoning as well.
Well, that was part of what we discussed, was the day and a half it takes to put that mound in every time we do it. And if I remember correctly, during that discussion, we decided that they should probably invest in a portable mound so that it could be easier to put in place.
I remember that.
I remember that.
I remember that from years, I remember that from a long time ago.
No, this was just recently.
I don't know.
I'd say a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
I honestly
We
don't
sat
know
right in
that-
this room and discussed it.
I don't know that these two were here.
Okay, I was gonna say, I don't remember that at all.
Which is what-
If it was a meeting here, I was here.
I think it was when Rick attended the staff meeting that we discussed. I brought up the IGA and Rick. I think that was the last time we had spoken. But I do recall initially having a conversation with the board about setting up an IGA and having a parity and those types of things in services and that stuff. So
We did talk at the board level. You guys talked at the board level about,
We talked about intergovernmental agreement. I don't know if we
Yeah.
talked about all the terms.
I don't remember any term.
I remember talking about intergovernmental.
at some point there, I agree with Rick, there was a discussion on, not necessarily on removing the ballots and things like that, but there was a discussion on at least covering our costs for prepping of the fields.
I
for
thought
the
we
school
would
district.
have a reciprocal agreement where we could use their fields like out at the bus barn.
Yeah,
That was,
but they
And-
won't,
and
but they won't maintain
Highland
those
Elementary.
either.
I'm not arguing that
Yeah.
point with you. I'm just saying I don't recall
Yeah.
anything about using their baseball field. Their,
No,
That was an alternative option after they turned down the maintenance of their own fields.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say that was the deal breaker, because they take that baseball field pretty serious. And I don't think we would ever need to use that ball field, because the only time that they come here is the JV game or the sophomore game, and it's the same home schedule, so varsity's already playing. So I don't know we would ever need that time.
No, if the JV is home, varsity's away.
I think, Cambridge, we had some big.
It sounds like
very much topic, but I think they-
Hold on, Jared, I can't hear you. I need you to speak up, please.
I said, I think when we had that big softball tournament, I think it was sectionals when Ken was here, I think we did, you got high school.
We did.
High school, yeah.
We did, but I
Oh, yeah,
think
scheduled games
Nate
over
can
there.
probably speak more to this, but there is going to be a scheduling dilemma this coming year. There's just too many sports have been pushed back. And Nate's gonna end up having all of them hitting at once, including our own that we run.
or none of
Well,
them.
let's just say, we don't even know if that's gonna be had or not. That's all.
I hope to have Meridian Youth this year. I would like to get that in, so I'm going to work really hard to make that happen.
Hey, but I doubt the high school is gonna come back.
We
So-
don't know.
Since we're at the committee level, let's discuss this. So we're sitting here with a possible IGA. What do you want to see in terms for either reciprocal use or services? Or, again, it takes us, when they want to use it for baseball, a day and a half, put the mound in. That's time and labor that we're paying.
Right, but, I mean, I understand we wanna discuss it, but when we rightfully don't know what was in the agreement, it's kinda hard for us.
There's nothing.
There's no agreement.
Well, no, but I'm saying we don't know what was going back and forth, so we don't know what
An
we're.
equal equivalent is what was going back and forth. We
Okay.
asked them to maintain the fields at an equal equivalent to how we maintain our fields, or to some standard that is greater than what it currently is.
Because as William said, they let the infields grow over and no chalk and no drag. And so, I
Well,
mean,
they're probably drying once a week, and that's probably about it.
They're not even dragged. I've used those ball diamonds at the bus garage. They do not maintain them whatsoever.
so do we want to continue the way we're going, where we pay for everything and don't expect anything in return? Or do we want to go down the road of equitable?
Why don't we just charge them what the cost?
I thought originally we had discussed that we would just ask them to buy like the
I
chalk
remember that.
and stuff like that, that we,
The material for
the material.
So I can fill in some gaps here. I sent them a generic agreement that was, you know, we do this, you do this. They returned back an agreement that had us providing a high level of maintenance and setup for their games, and them providing a minimal amount of maintenance to their facility with no setup for games. I initially requested that we be able to use the high school football field. They removed that after discussing with Rick at the meeting and other information about from the board. I said, I think, you know, let's make it even. You provide, we set up for a game if we use games there, which we probably wouldn't have very many games or play over there. It's mostly just practices for Meridian Youth, I believe. And then allow us to use the high school baseball field maybe for a couple games over late summer after the high school games are over for like our 8th grade Meridian Youth team was kind of the thought. They then basically responded back with, Heather responded back to me saying, well, we'll just go ahead and pay for it. How does, you know, $900 for the games and $700 for practices sound or whatever? I forget what the total number was, but it was around $1,500 or $1,700. And I said, well, we don't charge for practice. So unless you want the exclusive use of that time, you know, locked in, you know, then that's okay. So they would be out for the setups and the rental for the games. And then at this point, you know, a negotiating thing would be to not charge for the rental or for practices. But that was what they came to me with this. They suggested paying for the setup and rental for the games, as well as paying for the rental time for practices. And I clarified that. So that was where we kind of ended. And then Heather then sent the special use permit request to me today, actually, with their list of games. And they will be using the fields every day, just about every day from May till probably June, I believe. May through the end of June, I think. So for practices in the afternoons and then games further in the evening. So that's where we are.
When they send you that scheduling, are you getting specific times?
Yes.
So that way we know that you can schedule other practices around their time.
Correct. And that was where there is negotiation and being fair. And like I said, I believe when I responded to Heather, I told her that, you know, practice time was free unless you want to lock in that date and time for sure. You know, so if they're a paid rental and some other team comes in and says, hey, I want to practice at 5:00 on Wednesday, it's like, no, well, there's an existing user at that time, as opposed to not. So I guess that's our that's something we could, I don't say negotiate, but could definitely, you know, put out there as an olive branch to them and say, well, you don't need to pay for practice because it's not, you know, it's in our fee structure that I gave to them, and they're aware that they don't have to rent the time.
So from May to the end of June, we're only going to charge them $1,600.
Yeah, I believe it's, I want to say like, I think there was like a total of last year, it was like 60 games or something, or 60 uses. I think there's like 3 games a week for eight. It's quite a bit. Yeah. It's only $12 to set up and $12 for 2 hours. So one game is $24 is what we're charging. And I'm going to set them up prior to me leaving, and probably won't have to have staff on site except for maybe a couple weekends where there'll be double headers where we'll need to set up between games.
It's a one-way audio system. Chris has a question for you, Nate.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
It's a one-way audio system, so only one person will pick up on the speaker at a time, which is why I keep stopping you guys too. So go for it, Chris.
I guess I'm confused. How does that recoup our money for a day and a half setup on a mount?
It probably doesn't. The fee structure is set up just to recuperate the monies for setting up for the game and minimal care and upkeep. So yeah, I mean, if we have to replace that mound, let's say 2 or 3 times during the season, more likely once or twice, depending upon how many softball tournaments we'll have, then yeah, that's a day and a half of 2 or 3 people out there moving material, setting it up, scraping it. Scraping it off doesn't take very long. It's just the setting it up and getting it ready. So that's one of the big, that's the biggest time consumer. During the day, we can set up the diamonds for a game before we leave for the day, for example, and don't have to have staff there or extra times, that sort of thing. So, but yeah, that is one of the bigger costs, I would say, that we have by having a baseball here, because we're primarily a softball facility, I would say, from my experience.
So, just for you, or the board, is maybe they don't want.
Hold on, I'm sorry, Chris, there's too many people talking again.
Yeah, none of it's picked up on my microphone. We're whispering.
It doesn't matter. All I'm saying is that, maybe the reason why they're not willing to do an intergovernmental agreement and do a little extra work is because we're charging them so little for them to play here in the first place. I mean, I'm not looking to make a profit off of it. We should probably, if they're not going to be reciprocating, our stuff, maybe we should be charging them enough to cover our costs, which just seems to be that $1,600 for 2 months of the everyday practice and games isn't really gonna do it. Especially if you're telling me the mound setup is a day and a half and you have to do it 3 or 4 times a year. That's, 3 people doing it for a day and a half.
But that's spread across more than just Stillman. The mound resetting up.
What do you mean, Stillman?
The baseball.
The mound is
Yeah.
for their games.
Or redoing
Right,
the
but we're
mound
still gonna
for their
recoup-
games.
Yeah, you're still in there.
We're still recouping costs from other tournaments,
Sure.
other
people are
teams
using
coming
it in
in.
the interim. They're
So
not the only
times
ones-
how many other people.
They're not the only one in the
Right,
region,
right.
the mound being rebuilt, other practices.
Oh, I thought the mound was just for them.
Well, you're gonna have other stuff in between, they're gonna be using it too, because they're not gonna.
That's the thing. Nate,
Yeah.
is the mound just for them?
Yes.
Primarily, yeah. I mean, I know we have our Meridian Youth Baseball. The 8th graders use a smaller mound than the high school mound, I believe, 8th and 7th. But they travel a lot. I think the biggest issue with the mound removal is when we have softball tournaments and we have to set it up as a softball field. Every other time it can stay there. So it's not like we're doing it constantly. But we do have other users. So yeah, it can be used for practice as well as games, and for Meridian Youth but it's primarily there for the use of the high school from my understanding.
Nate, Tina has a question.
And I think, Nate, you were just answering it. I guess I thought it was not exclusive to the school district. I thought other baseball teams or tournaments used it as well. So that I'm wrong in that?
No.
Unfortunately, I got COVIDed out of having a baseball season last year. So I'm going off of, institutional knowledge from like Billy and other people who play and the staff who've worked here from previous. And my observation is that the facility is primarily a softball facility, and the major users for baseball would be the high school, and then secondarily a few teams. I mean, we only have 1 or 2 teams in each of that 8th grade and 7th grade for our Meridian Youth League that we host.
Nate, from my experience watching my son play there for Meridian Youth, when the mound is gone, I've walked Meridian Youth pitch off the flat surface, not on a mound.
Sure.
So they don't come back in and put a mound in for Meridian Youth when it's gone.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah, and that's the stuff I didn't get last year from not being able to do it, to know, kind of going through the season to know who are main movers and shakers and what the level of maintenance that you do. So thanks for the heads up. So, I mean, my suggestion is that we definitely can accommodate their practices like other teams without paying rental fees. And I haven't yet. I'm going to wait till I receive other permits. I told most everybody January 1st. I want to try to go through the calendar and find space for everybody and find times for everybody, and then move forward there. If somebody has games, they got to pay a rental fee because that's us going out, spending our time to set it up and locking it in for their use. Practices, as a general rule, like this board has said, we do not charge a rental fee unless a team is wanting to have a locked-in exclusive use of that time period and is willing to pay for practice time. So that's kind of where I feel, how I feel about it.
Let me, I'll start down here with Jared. And Jared, what do you want to see in terms of an agreement with them? Anything specific?
No, but what about a single lounge would be kind of, that would be very helpful. And then let's get a price on that.
I was gonna say removable mounds are horrid.
I don't want to pay for
Horrid.
it.
They rip because they can't wear cleats on because they'll rip holes in them.
We brought that up before.
Yeah,
We brought
it's
that up.
horrid. You don't want those.
I prefer they just, if they're not going to provide us with any facilities that are maintained, I prefer that they just pay us what our costs are for hosting their team for 2 months in our facility.
I was gonna say, you can't say their team, because literally, I understand we're 3 separate
No,
towns, but we're one big community.
I understand that, and I get it, but they clearly don't want to reciprocate like a community would.
Well,
And they're willing to
I'm
pay for it, so they should pay the cost.
But right, but I'm sure there's,
We're not robbing them.
no, I'm just saying, sitting down and talking, I think what he's gonna do tomorrow probably would be a better thing after we kind of, you're right.
So what I'm looking at is the guidelines
Right.
from you. So when
Right.
I go speak with PJ, I
Right.
have some kind of knowledge of what you guys would like to see and what our limits are and where we're gonna be when we have this negotiations. When I talk to him, then I will come back with what we talk
Right.
about.
Like, I mean, I think that if they would be willing to help pay the, the supply, like the chalk, the clay, whatever we need to repair them out, whatever, at least put something forth. Because to me, you would think that would be cheaper than paying $1,600.
Well, that goes completely, that's what Chris was saying, I think I'm gonna cover the cost.
I think-
But that's fine. I've got you as cover materials.
Yeah.
William?
I think from my experience, kids playing in the organizations, running tournaments here, and watching currently 3 supervisors try to manipulate a schedule. If we do, it's a deal breaker for me to not have access to that bus garage and Highland Elementary field. If we cannot use the bus garage to run our Meridian Youth baseball practices and to put a tournament on as a spillover. Part of, I guess, from the reciprocating part, I would say that they should at least maintain the infields in a fashion that could be playable. They don't need to drag them at prep always, but spray to keep the grass and weeds out, and they need to keep the grass mowed.
Yeah, because those really come in handy if we do have a tournament
Yes.
and they get rained out and we have to make games up. I know in the
I
past,
don't-
we've been able to go over
I don't
that.
believe
You
they
being
need-
that you were parks before and having your children go through that program, I probably got the most knowledge you need.
If we do not get access to that bus garage, it is 100% deal breaker for me. After,
Okay, so what is your
Define
terminology of
access,
deal
yeah.
breaker?
Nate's trying to get your attention.
I just wanted to say there's nothing in the agreement or the discussions with Heather that says we won't be able to use their stuff based on this lack of an IGA. So I just want to clarify that just because we don't come up with an IGA doesn't mean that they might charge us to have games there or something. I don't know, but there was nothing in the agreement that said that we're not going to allow, you know, we no longer have access to use theirs. So I just want to clarify that.
What do you mean by deal breaker? No IGA?
I guess.
I mean, cover our costs, I mean, I need to have a little,
I'd be interested to hear what PJ has to say. I mean,
Well, right,
they've allowed us, when I say us, they've allowed Meridian Youth to operate in that fashion for years. I don't think we're asking to do anything different, other than maintain the infield, keep the grass cut. And I don't think we don't even need to expect them to prep the fields if we're gonna host a tournament, because we charge organizations to host a tournament, and we will include those
Right.
fields. So we can drag it and chalk it if needed, if we're gonna recover that cost. But I'm gonna guess that's where the school district might have a problem if we host a tournament over there. They're gonna want insurance information.
what do you feel about?
If we're getting use of the bus garage in Highland Elementary, I'm fine with the amount.
John?
I would like to, I think Nate's trying to make it so we make money and break even on stuff, so I certainly think getting some sort of money for our time and labor is important to me. It sounds like we need the other two fields to make it all work, so I'd have to lean with William on that one. It's something we need to make sure that's in there.
Are you more of a cover costs or cover materials?
I would rather cover our costs. I mean, everybody's got money to spend.
I would disagree.
Well, I mean, we pay a lot as taxpayers in Davis Junction. We pay a lot of money to the school district.
Jared,
And
we
we
can't
give
hear
donations.
you.
Yeah.
I am actually gonna say I believe I'm far too biased to.
They're a huge
Conflict of interest.
I truly do believe it's a huge.
That's fine.
Sorry.
All right. Can we move on?
No, we back up,
Oh, wait.
Done.
back up.
Oh, Nate's waving. Hold on.
I'm just saying I'm done. Thank you. I just wanted to bring that up, and thanks for clarifying that you're going to have a discussion with PJ tomorrow. And
Go back up to.
Yeah, you're not done. I need clarification on that truck quote.
okay,
Consent agenda.
Well, I know it's not gonna be on the consent agenda, but I have the Prescott quote for the purchase of the truck, and then Nate had asked for the Vanel, but then there's a discussion about the Monroe. What are we doing here? There wasn't clarification as to what dump body and,
I think we were comfortable with his recommendation because we trust his judgment, but.
so you're comfortable with the Vanel?
I agree with William. I mean, that's what Nate's here to do, is make his recommendation.
I know your feelings,
You
Jared.
got the morning?
Just put it on under John.
Yep, I'll put it under you on the
And we'll go
agenda
there.
next week, John.
Anything further, John?
No.
Any more backing up, Sandy?
No, I just need to
All right.
clarify we were purchasing next week.
Chris?
No.
No.
Nina?
No, I said no. Oh, Jesus.
Yes.
There's nothing on the sheet, look, I show you.
I have to add a couple of things, no, just one thing. Just a little bit of information quick. Our 4720 John Deere tractor, if any of you want to look at your handy little equipment list there. So we have an issue. That tractor is that's a four-wheel drive tractor. And it is basically stuck in four-wheel drive. So we need to send it to Deere to have them work on it. The problem is this: they're claiming that they have to break the tractor in half to do this work, which is fine. I mean, that's not uncommon for ag equipment. The problem is I can't give you a dollar amount because they won't give us a dollar amount. This could be $1,000. This could be $5,000. I don't know. We've called several Deere places. We've called other places. No one will give me a dollar amount. So I'm actually working on getting a price too on a new one just to compare. We don't have any intentions of buying a new one. We didn't plan on buying a new one, but I just figured one of you was going to ask me what a new one costs. If I tell you this repair might cost $10,000.
You've been doing this a while,
So anyway, we don't have any intentions of buying a new one. That's not our plan, but I just wanted to be prepared for that question. But I can't give you a dollar amount, folks,
No
because
estimate at all.
no, I can give you a labor rate, but I don't know how many hours.
12-year-old tractor.
That's what
No,
we're
that's what labor.
It says 2008, you said 4720, right?
That's 2008.
Did we buy that used?
New.
No, it says new.
Oh, I was told we bought that after, when did the well burn?
Oh,
Yeah.
long time
Around
ago.
2008.
Oh, was it that long ago?
Yeah.
Okay, I
No,
was,
it was like, yeah,
7.
5, 6, 11.
okay, because I think that tractor was only made from 2009 to 14, so maybe it was an 09 model then. But, okay,
I think Deere makes phenomenal large equipment.
Yeah.
They're smaller.
but I can't give a dollar amount, so
How much does a new tractor cost? Is that-
I don't know. I'm waiting
Find out.
for a quote back from Sourcewell.
Something more on that one, probably.
You're probably looking at
25,000,
47,000.
Yeah, but if it costs you 12,000 to repair it.
I'm hoping that's like stupid extreme.
Yeah,
so.
all right, well, all right.
But like I said, just wanted to give you a heads up on that,
Thanks for bringing me the good news, I appreciate it.
we just can't knock anybody give us a dollar amount, Chris, so, sorry.
Sorry.
It is what it is.
What do you use that for?
We use that to run our batwing and our ditch mowers, yes. Our flail mower and our batwing. Yeah. It's got almost 5,000 hours on it, but I tell you what, it's a good tractor. I mean, we can
Runs like a deer.
keep that going for a while, just depending on how bad this repair is. So, just that, so.
All right.
They have any idea why it's stuck in four-wheel drive, like a gearbox or something?
No, until they actually, we haven't hauled it anywhere to look at it, but yes.
Is that all?
Not telling you.
That's a 58 horse tractor.
You got any more bad news for us?
No, the next one's for Dina.
Thanks.
Sandy,
I appreciate
can
that.
you get this for me? I need this
Said
to
no
PDF.
roads this year.
The what?
I want this to PDF.
Oh, yeah, I can email
I
it
As
to
we
you.
look these things up, I can bring it up on the screen.
Yeah, I can email it to you.
Thank you.
It sounds like Kirby has something.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm
Waiting for you. I'm waiting for Chris. Anything further, Chris?
No, I
I
didn't
thought you
have
said
anything
no
in
He
it.
before.
said that was it. He said the next one was for me, so.
Dina?
Yeah, no, it's not, just once again, a little bit of information, but, well, I tried that last time. I'm going to start for the next, Sandy informed me that, budget talks are coming soon.
Yeah,
I
they are.
can't wait. So, just so everybody has a heads up, I don't think this village has ever done it before. I'm gonna look at a couple of companies to come in and start a clean camera program, get pricing on a clean camera program for our sewer mains. We should be doing this, we'll break it up into sections, you know, and it takes us 4 years to do it and start again, whatever. We'll discuss that further, but I just want to give everyone a heads up that we will probably start seeing prices come in. I'll show you prices on a couple of different companies for this project, so.
Fantastic.
But it will be for the next budget year.
So that get rid of the rust in John's water?
No, we put that in John's name.
Say,
Never,
Fergie adds that.
yes, so
All right.
that was pretty painless, you know.
All right, any further, Dina?
No, thank you.
Anybody have anything on unfinished business?
Which is only sidewalks now.
Can I actually add the antennas on the water tower to that?
No,
Okay.
That's
Quotes are coming.
Well, I'm working on my half of that too, so that's why I didn't know if I could just stick
Go ahead,
it
go
there, so
ahead.
we don't forget about it.
Yep. Actually have 2 companies looking at antennas.
Additional company.
Yes. And now we have 1 bid.
We already have a few up there.
You can be.
No, we have 1 bid on replacing them.
Oh, I get you. Ours.
Our network is.
I have unfinished business. Will Hoffman, is contacting IDOT inquiring about their burn pile. Received complaints from business owners.
I did as well.
And I took videos of it and it was pretty bad. I can't believe they're burning carcasses.
Carcasses, you said?
Yeah, they pick them up.
Deer on the side of the road,
Yeah, multiple
animals.
day burn.
Yeah, they didn't check with the EPA, or the IEPA.
They don't have to check. They just do what they want, don't you know that?
So Will Hoffman's reached out to contact.
One business down there said they had smoke coming in through there.
It was inside the building.
Yes. Yeah, it was actually drafting it in the building.
They're pretty close.
Yeah, it was.
Well, they said the whole intersection was obscured as well.
I
To
must
the
have.
point that Ogle County stopped in.
As they should have.
Does it smell like deer when it's burning this year?
Oh, it's not need to go
Are you
there
guys
now.
gonna
It's
sell
just-
venison?
Yeah, I just.
All right. Anything further on unfinished business?
I thought it was a restaurant.
Moving on. Public.
That would be me.
Hi, Glenda.
Hello. I have a problem with the ice rink and the baseball fields. If you're gonna maintain the baseball fields, you need to maintain the ice rink. If you have a problem with employees being paid, hire somebody, put them on call like you do snow drivers.
Yeah, unfortunately with the seasonal employees, Glenda, if you put somebody on call, then they have to be somewhere for a designated period of time, you have to pay them.
Fine, pay them. We're paying people to maintain the baseball diamonds, but we're not getting reimbursed.
But is the liner on the ice rink already?
You have to purchase a new one.
We can't purchase a new one.
Anything further from public?
I have a problem with the grants too. If you're gonna give grants out for, what was it, $25,000 total, then you can maintain the ice field, the ice rink.
You got a point.
Yeah.
You got a point.
Anything further, Glenda?
No, I think I've said enough.
Thank you.
Thanks, Glenda.
You're welcome.
All right. Anything further from the board before we go into executive session? Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to move into closed session 2Z21, discussion of minutes and meetings lawfully closed under this act, whether for purposes of approval by the body of the minutes or a semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by section 2.06.
Second.
Dina makes a motion to go into closed session under section 2C21. Jen seconds. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Jared,
Yes.
John,
John?
I guess I'll come back to him. Dina,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
William,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
John. All right, John has walked away for a moment, so we'll have to.
Let's hold on a moment.
He's apparently staying.
John,
Yes.
going into closed session?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Motion passes. C23. All right, it is 8:40 PM on December 15th, 2020. And we just came out of executive session. Entertain a motion to reconvene open session.
I'll make a motion to reconvene open session.
Second. Doesn't matter.
Jen makes a motion to reconvene open session. John seconds. Roll call, please.
Dina,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
William,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
All right. We have nothing to follow up on.
No,
Oh, we do?
So the resolution for the minutes that were discussed in closed session, I was looking for more of a consensus on each of them because the resolution that will be presented to you next week will be based upon the consensus, not your individual vote. So if,
That's fine. Put it on the consent agenda.
are you gonna be okay with that?
That's fine.
Okay, so I will put it on the consent agenda. If, after looking at it, because it'll be slightly different than the one you saw in your packet this week, please let me know if I need to move it, or also, as Rick always asks, somebody can remove it at the beginning of the meeting if needs be.
What you just noticed was growth.
Not really.
So, if
I got
there's,
it on the record.
Okay.
all right, that's all I had.
Does anybody have anything else before we close?
Motion to adjourn.
John makes a motion to adjourn. Chris seconds. Roll call.
William,
Yes.
Jen,
Yeah.
Jared,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Tina.
Yeah.
What time is it?
Chris hasn't answered yet.
Oh, yes. I didn't hear my name, sorry.
8:42.
Thank you.